carry on now. So we have Roz, who's going to be talking about the Access to Medicine campaign. So take it away, Roz.
Thanks a lot, Pam. Thank you. And great, cool. I can see my screen now. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Pam and Charlotte, for organising and inviting me on. I'm Roz. I am the Research and Policy Officer for the MSF Access campaign, and I'm based in the UK out of the London office. So I'm just going to talk today a little bit about the work of the Access campaign, the MSF Access campaign, why we have an Access campaign, and some of the work that we're doing at the moment, particularly around COVID in the UK context. So next slide, please. Okay, so that was just my intro slide, whereas you had one too. So cool. So yeah, why an Access campaign? So just to really quickly go back to the beginning. Basically, the Access to Medicine campaign was launched 20 years ago. We just had our 20th anniversary. And essentially back in 1999, MSF doctors and nurses were really frustrated because essentially they were not able to treat patients because they realised that medicines and diagnostics were either unaffordable, unavailable or unsuitable for lots of different reasons. So I'm going to go through these three areas, but essentially this is kind of what they started to see, and they realized that this was a very big systemic issue where basically there were situations where patients in high income countries were able to access treatments that people living in poorer countries were not able to access due to price and other issues. So this was what MSF was witnessing. And so then essentially, next slide please, when MSF won the Nobel Peace Prize back in 1999, they used some of the money that they won from that, or they got from that, to actually launch the MSF Access campaign. So the Access campaign is a kind of policy campaign advocacy body within MSF who campaign for access to essential medicines for MSF, but also beyond. So realizing that it is a systemic issue. If we fight for access just for MSF, it doesn't obviously solve the broader problems. So it's for MSF and beyond. And this was his speech, so I won't read it out because I know we're short of time, but it's a pretty powerful speech. And essentially what he said was, you know, they realised that life-saving essential medicines were either too expensive, they were not available because they were not seen as financially viable, and I'll go into that a bit in a minute, or there was no research and development into priority tropical diseases, essentially because they weren't seen as a profitable market. Basically, they affected people living in poorer countries who weren't going to make huge profits from. By they, I mean pharmaceutical industry, basically. So they weren't a profitable market. So there was this kind of market failure is what they called it at the time. And so they said this market failure is our next challenge. And so this was the launch of the MSF Access campaign. And they said, obviously, this is not our challenge alone. What we demand is change, not charity. So what that kind of means is, you know, systemic change. We don't just want donations from pharmaceutical industries. We want to make, you know, systemic policy change to make sure that this doesn't continue. So that basically the Access campaign was launched at that point. So next slide, please. So just to go through those three main issues that they were seeing. So the first being affordability. So this, really simply, what this graph shows is, you know, so the Access campaign was really launched around towards the kind of middle of the HIV crisis, so the late 90s, where essentially by that point what we were seeing was, you know, patients in high income countries starting to have access to ARVs or HIV medication, which was essentially, you know, very much extending their life, saving their life. But, you know, the people that MSF was serving were not able to access them because of the price. So there was obviously this huge injustice where, you know, imagine knowing that a treatment exists for your condition, but you weren't able to access it because you can't afford it or because your government couldn't afford it. That has got to be like one of the biggest injustices that you can think of, because it's just so cruel. So yeah, I think this is what MSF doctors and nurses were seeing, particularly with HIV at this time. A lot of the early work of the Access campaign was around HIV. So this graph basically just shows what happens when you have competition in the pharmaceutical market. So basically you can see in the red line, this is the originator price. And basically what that means is it's the pharmaceutical company who developed it. When they develop a drug, they basically get a 20-year patent. And what that does is it blocks the entry of any other producers onto the market. It basically says we have the right to charge whatever price we want for this medicine and sell it alone in the market for 20 years. And what that does is it stops anyone else making that drug. And so you have no competition. So basically prices don't come down. They can charge whatever price they like. They basically control the market. And that patents, that, you know, the intellectual property around medicines and medical products is one of the reasons that we have these affordability challenges. So this graph just basically shows what happens when you have generic competition. So you have, you know, other producers coming on the market and the prices just radically drop. So this is an example of the systemic issues that I was mentioning. You know, you've got intellectual property and patents which are forcing high prices basically because of this kind of control of the market. Okay, next slide, please. So just one other quick example of affordability issues that we've seen is our hepatitis C. So this small little drug that you can see here, this little tablet, sofosbuvir, was developed for hepatitis C, and it can actually cure it in 12 weeks. And it was developed by Gilead. And when it first came out, it was literally $1,000 per pill, right? So that little pill was $1,000. And gram for gram, that was 67 times more expensive than gold. So you can just see how the market is kind of out of control. You know, the intellectual property they get, the control of the market, and meaning they can charge whatever prices for these products means that you know, prices are just going through the roof. And essentially, what was shown, particularly through this example, but others too, is that high prices are now not only affecting poorer countries where MSF works, but in recent years also high-income countries. So around hepatitis C, but other issues, we're seeing high prices dominating the market, and governments around the world and health systems just not being able to afford them. So affordability is the first issue. So next slide, please. So the next problem is that they're unavailable. And what this means is essentially that drugs for certain diseases or issues just don't exist because they're not seen as a profitable market, right? So they're not seen as, oh, if we develop a drug for X illness, there are lots of people living in, you know, rich countries who can afford them, who will pay or be able to pay, and so we'll develop it. What these kind of neglected areas are of R&D or research and development are where basically pharmaceutical industry know that they can't make huge profits from it, and so they basically stop investing in innovation in those areas. So this is this slide is basically showing what happened to antimicrobial resistance research and development, where basically there was a lot of discovery up to the kind of the late 80s, and then there's basically a discovery void. And what this is leading to is a huge problem with antimicrobial resistance, as I'm sure you all know about, where we basically don't have new antibiotics on the market to help us with the growing threat of AMR. So one of the reasons for this is because there's an R&D discovery void where basically pharmaceutical companies realize that actually investing in R&D for antibiotics is not profitable, because what you have to do is prevent overuse. You can't just hand out antibiotics because obviously we need to prevent the development of resistance. And so without the ability to push marketing and to push sales as much as possible, that leads to less profits, right? So essentially they realized it was not a profitable market. You can't, you know, force huge sales of antibiotics. It's got to be very careful use. So basically that, you know, one by one pharmaceutical companies left this market, and so we have this discovery void, and that's led to the situation we have today, where we really lack new classes of antibiotics. Next slide, please. So another example of unavailable, obviously, are some medical innovations around COVID. So what this is just showing basically is that there are lots of scientists in the world who were doing research and development around coronavirus vaccines for years ago, maybe not the exact strain that we're seeing around the world causing a pandemic today, but there were scientists doing research into coronavirus vaccines, meaning that, you know, if they'd been able to continue with or had been kind of invested in, we may not be in the situation we're in today, where the world is desperately, you know, rushing to find a vaccine. Actually, we're behind because essentially at the time the pharmaceutical industry didn't invest in research into this area, because at the time there was no clear market for it. So basically the money dried up, there was no investment, and so essentially what that meant was we're behind. Instead of, you know, thinking ahead around pandemic preparedness, because there was no kind of immediate profits available, it's basically dropped. So this just kind of shows the issues with a profit-driven system. Next slide, please. So the third point is around being unsuitable, so products being unsuitable. And so what that means, particularly for MSF, is that products that are developed are not necessarily suitable for the context that we work in. So, but basically they're not developed with the populations that we serve in mind, right? So in places where they live for various reasons. And one example is the recent Ebola vaccine. So obviously this affects people places where MSF work. And particularly poor countries like DRC. And well, firstly, a vaccine took a very, very long time to develop. Despite initial discoveries years ago, basically there was no investment because of lack of profit, or because lack of basically people with Ebola at that time. They didn't see it as a profitable market. And then as soon as the Ebola outbreaks happened, essentially there was some investment, not as much as there would be if you can imagine an Ebola outbreak in New York, how quickly things would have progressed, but things still took years and years and years because it was only in the DRC, so it wasn't seen as profitable. So basically, eventually when we do now have a vaccine, if you can see the highlighted section of the text there, essentially it needs to be stored at between -60 to -80 degrees centigrade to transport them to the places needed. So you can just imagine the huge logistical challenge that presents for people living in these places, including MSF, trying to get these vaccines out. It's just completely, really, really hard, really, really difficult. And it's just the vaccines are not developed with these populations in mind. Obviously, maintaining the temperatures may be easier in large cities, but when you're going out into very remote regions, it's not easy, and so that just makes things more difficult. Whereas if you develop products from the beginning with the populations who need them in mind, you would have thought about this differently. And so this is another area of kind of neglect for poorer populations that we see. Next slide, please. The other example of unsuitable is tuberculosis drugs. So despite what we hear about COVID, obviously it affects it's affecting huge numbers of people around the world. TB is still the largest infectious disease killer in the world. Someone dies of TB in the world every 22 seconds. It's like seriously, like millions and millions of people die of TB still. And I think often people think that TB is kind of over. It's kind of not a huge issue anymore, but it's still the biggest infectious disease killer in the world. And we basically don't hear about it so much because it affects people living in poorer countries, and predominantly. And so it's just not seen as a kind of priority area for investment or research and development. So a big, one huge issue with TB is drug resistance, and there are really, really very few suitable products to treat this, despite thousands of people suffering with it. So this is Fumeza here, who's an activist who did some work with the Access campaign. She survived extremely drug-resistant TB, but the treatment that she took to save her life basically made her permanently deaf because they're so completely unsuitable and toxic. And so this just shows how the complete lack of research and development leaves people with, the only other available treatments that are there that might save their life, but that would kind of give them these awful side effects. So we really need more, R&D into drug-resistant TB, particularly. Okay, next slide, please.
Roz, just to let you know, you've got 5 more minutes.
Okay. Okay. Cool. I'll just do really quickly then. So basically, this is just highlighting what I've said. You've got the monopoly model where pharmaceutical companies control the market, high prices, no accountability, no transparency, versus what we're pushing for, which is a needs-driven model. Things should be determined by health needs, not profits. There should be collaboration, and there should be transparency.
Roz, I think we've lost your sound for a minute.
Oh
no, you're back now.
I'm here.
That was just me. Carry on.
Okay. I think maybe everyone did lose my sound though, because I did say next slide. That's a joke. Basically, this just summarizes what I've been saying about we need a needs-driven model versus a monopoly model. So yeah, great, thank you. So this is just an example of a successful campaign that we've had around reducing the price of the pneumonia vaccine. I'm not going to play this now, but do go away and watch that, because it was a really successful campaign where eventually 2 big pharmaceutical companies did drop the price. Next slide, please. And another example that I'll just go through really quickly around price transparency that we did at the World Health Assembly. So this is an example of a more kind of systemic success that the Access campaign has had in terms of changing policy, changing, you know, the way that countries think about prices. And, you know, if we have more transparency on prices, governments are in a better position to negotiate fair prices. Including what R&D costs are, because that's one reason that pharmaceutical companies say that they, you know, is a reason and justification to charge high prices. So we do a lot of work on transparency. Next slide, please. So in terms of COVID, this is where you guys will come in a bit more, or where we're interested to do some work in the UK. So on COVID, we're doing a lot of work around particularly the COVID vaccine right now. So as you may have heard, there are, like, you know, a lot of investment into R&D for COVID vaccines now around the world, including from the UK government, millions of pounds of public money going into the development of a COVID vaccine. So this is just, you know, R&D for COVID has now exploded, obviously, because of the need and the potential profits that are there. But what's happening is we're going to have basically not enough supply of any future COVID vaccine, at least initially, because if you imagine, the whole world needs the vaccine, essentially. Times 2, because it's likely to be a double dose. So basically, just in terms of physical supply capacity, there isn't enough. One company physically can't do it. So we really need to work on maximising that supply. So that it becomes a huge issue when governments are basically booking supply of these COVID vaccines, or booking the doses in advance, leaving nothing for low-income countries. So you can see this graph. The UK has pre-ordered enough vaccines, COVID vaccines, for 5 doses per person, right? And if you go to the bottom of the slide, LMICs there, low and middle-income countries, have basically got nothing. So you're going to see really supply of COVID vaccines. So we've been pushing back against that quite a lot in the UK, and there's some press on the left there to show what we've been doing. So the UK is really the kind of worst hoarder, if you like, of potential future COVID vaccines that we're seeing from countries right now. Next slide, please. So yeah, basically we're really interested in 2 vaccine candidates, the Oxford group and the Imperial group. I know some of you are from Oxford and Imperial, and so we're really following these vaccines really super closely, and we're really interested in what these universities are doing to make sure their vaccines will be, you know, allocated around the world in a fair and equitable way, basically, to make sure that it's not just one country based on what they're willing to pay who get access, that it's kind of distributed around the world. And so these universities have a really, really important part to play in that. They can really make sure that it happens. They have the power, they have the vaccine. They don't have to just sell it off to pharmaceutical companies or give them all the power. So this is where we really like to see some pressure being put on these research institutions, basically saying, you know, this is what we expect from you, or that you could say as to your students, this is what we expect of you. So next slide, please. Apologies for the background noise if you could hear my daughter crying. My partner's here, so I don't have to deal with it, luckily. So this is some work that others have been doing around demanding some more from universities, including UAM. You can see on the right there, they did a carnival marching through London saying, free the vaccine. You know, it needs to be openly licensed. Don't sell it to one pharmaceutical company. We need to maximise collaboration and sharing. And so this is the kind of thing that, you know, we'd love to get your thoughts on, get you involved in. If any of you are interested in doing a bit more work or looking into a bit more what your universities are doing around COVID vaccines and what their potential policies are, position are around global equitable access, we'd be really interested to work with you. So we are offering a follow-up webinar, Access Campaign webinar, for any of you that are interested to do some more work with us around advocacy on these issues. Yeah, on my next slide, it just says, if you're interested in a webinar, to find out, please let Pam know. And yeah, we will hopefully see you there. Sorry, that was very quick because of time.
That's
but
brilliant.
I hope you.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of very important information, very rapidly delivered, but not too fast, just right. So thank you so much. And as Roz, I think you're on mute at the moment.
Oh, sorry. That's all right. I wasn't saying anything.
Sorry, what was that?
So.
Okay, lovely. Yeah, my daughter's actually screaming upstairs as well, but luckily I don't think you can hear. We've both got 2-year-old daughters who do a lot of screaming. Anyway, yes, so, and as Roz said, this is really, really timely stuff. This COVID vaccination stuff is really important, and we're going to do a webinar about it, and we'd like you all to attend, and particularly Imperial and Oxford, but indeed all universities. So we'll be doing that as an event between now and Christmas, so we'll be in touch. So thank you so much, Roz. If anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat. I am aware, though, that we are any minute now going into breakout rooms. But if you wanted to ask Roz anything else, then you've got her details and we've got the slides, and we'll be sharing them afterwards. So thank you again, Roz.
No worries.
Okay,
thank you.
So
thanks for having me.
Thanks, Roz. Right, we're going to go into breakout rooms now. So I'm going to explain how this works for you all, and we're going to do a session of 20 minutes in a breakout group. We're going to do just the one session, and I originally wanted to put you into regional breakout groups, but it is not possible on Zoom because you have to have even numbered breakout groups, otherwise it doesn't work, and different numbers of students at different universities. So I think the best way of doing it is to randomly allocate you into breakout groups. So we are going to have, let me just check, we are going to have groups of 15, and let me just see, yeah, 8 breakout rooms. So what you're going to do, Charlotte, could you go to the next slide, please? So these questions we're going to combine into one session of 20 minutes. Now, 20 minutes may sound like a lot of time, but it really is not. You will be astonished how quickly 20 minutes will go once you're in your breakout rooms. So you need to be really quick with it all. And what you need to do is decide, can you go to the next slide, please? We might have to come back to those questions. You nominate one chairperson per breakout group, okay? So one person volunteers to be the chair, to lead the discussion. That basically means you invite each society, so each person, to contribute and make sure everybody has had a chance to speak. So when you go into your breakout rooms, everybody turn their cameras on so you can see everybody's faces, okay? That's the first thing you do. Next thing is you nominate a chairperson. You also nominate one scribe, a separate person who's going to take notes of the discussion and then feedback after the 20 minutes is over, when you will all get thrown back into the main session, okay? Now, I know, as I said, I know 20 minutes sounds like a lot, but it goes super fast, so you've just got to be quite quick. When you're asked to speak by the chairperson, you say your name and your university, and then you talk about what plans you have. So if you go back, Charlotte, to the slide before, I'll talk about the question. So you'll discuss your plans for the term year ahead, if you have any. Maybe you haven't got any. Maybe you're not even from a group that has been established yet, and that is fine. But whatever you've thought about, have a chat. Go around the breakout room sharing ideas and plans they have so far. And as a sub-question that is, in the same question, how are you planning to adapt your activities in the face of coronavirus? So this is the first question. You go around the room and the scribe takes notes. If you have time within that 20 minutes, which I would be astonished, then you can also discuss the second one, which is how you can collaborate on activities. But if you don't have time to discuss it, that's absolutely fine, because things will start germinating in your head. You can obviously feel free, anyone who wants to take notes can take notes as well, of things to follow up on, oh, that person said that event, I want to get in touch with her later, whatever it might be. Okay, so those are the instructions. So remember, it is, because you won't be able to see these questions when you're in your breakout room, but it's very simple. Just discuss your plans and how you're adapting to COVID. And if you have time for the second question, then how you can collaborate, okay? So in a moment, I'm gonna put you into your breakout groups, okay? And then just turn your cameras on and then see what happens. So bear with me a moment, please. I'm just going to give you 20 minutes. Okay, I'm going to open these rooms now. You'll be invited to join your room.
Panda Girl. Olive, Panda Girl is set up a GoFundMe. Did I tell you?
No, I've seen it.
Oh.
They open their own.
Has that worked?
I don't think it has.
No? God.
I think it has. We're down to 33 participants.
Yeah, I think it's working for the majority.
Some who are unassigned, I don't understand that. Okay, I'm going to try again because I think we've had some new people. I think it's because we've had new people come in.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, we're going to come back.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Or just assign the remaining people to breakout rooms.
No, I think I've closed them now. How can I just close it without having to wait 40 seconds?
I don't think you can. I think people have to click on.
Okay, sorry everyone. For some reason that didn't work. I'm going to try it again in a minute. Can I post a message? No. Okay, sorry everyone. For some reason, I think because we had new people join, that didn't work. Give me a moment and I'm going to do it again. Sorry.
Vikram.
Oh my God, where's it? Let me turn off my mic.
Could you all mute for a moment?
Aberdeen representing.
Charlotte, do you want to come host and do it? Because I don't know what's happening.
I can try. Pass it over.
Okay.
Hello.
I'm a bit busy.
Have you done it? Oh, no, I am the host now. Oh God, the power. I want to recreate.
Just give us 10 seconds, guys. We'll sort this out.
How much we want? We want 8.
We want 8 groups. 8 groups.
8 rooms. That automatically.
Faces now, which is nice because before I couldn't see anybody.
Okay then. Open rooms.
20 minutes, yeah.
Yeah. You off you go.
Okay, well done. Well done.
Just turn sound on.
Yeah, it worked. Phew. Okay.
So I'm on 4G. So is it right if I keep my camera off just so I can?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, I won't stay the whole time, but have we got somebody who'll be chairperson and somebody who'll be scribe, please? Any volunteers?
Got some paper here if you need a scribe. I'm happy to.
You're amazing, Daisy. Thank you so much. And who would like to just invite people to speak and lead the discussion? Oh, I'll pick somebody if not. Kristen, do you want to do it?
Okay, yeah, there's still people sleeping around, so I'm trying not to speak.
Oh, okay, okay, we'll try someone else, don't worry.
Sorry.
Anybody else keen? I recognise lots of your names, actually. It's nice to see your faces. Yasmin?
Sure, yeah.
You're a ledge. Okay, I'm going to leave you to it, but as I say, just crack on because you'll be surprised. 20 minutes goes like that, okay? I'll see you shortly.
Okay, thank you. So I suppose we'll start with...
Yeah.
I don't know how that went so wrong.
I think it was because you needed to, I think it's called like recreating the rooms. But either way,
The reason why I handed it to you was because I couldn't then see how to just start again. I couldn't see how to.
that's what once you close the room, I think it's called recreate.
Okay. So are these bods going into rooms, or?
I think they're people who've wandered off, you know.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Gone to get a cup of coffee, understandably. I think, but I don't know. A couple of them aren't connected to audio, so I think that maybe they're dialed in twice. I'm not sure.
Okay, all right. I might, if I can take back control then, because I might sort of wander around the groups a little bit.
You can do that as co-host, but yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm just thinking, will I need you to do any more breakout room stuff?
I don't think so. If we're only bringing them back, I mean, I'll have to close it. But you happy closing it?
Yeah. So it's time for 20 minutes, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'll take it back then.
Okay then. You'll take it back. Apparently, you have to ask nicely before I give up that power. More like host. There you go.
Okay.
And I'm a nobody now.
Not at all, Charlotte.
Okay, I'm going to go into the rooms.
Before you do that, me losing host made me unco-host. Do you want to make me co-host so I can let any other participants in?
Yeah, of course. Okay, and so how many minutes? We've probably only got 15 minutes left already.
Yeah, Abdu says he left and said, thank you for the great event and full of information day. I'm going off now. Please let me know if you need anything later. Regards. He's just the sweetest man.
Yeah, he's awesome. Okay, I'm going to go on a wander. I'll see you in a bit.
Yeah.
Feel free to do the same, by the way.
Thanks.
Hi, guys.
Christmas.
Popping in to say hello. It's nice to see your faces, but carry on.
What else we do? Oh yeah, we're thinking maybe holding like a raffle for like some of the MSF merch potentially. On our like Instagram, we've been doing like a French word of the day to get people involved and like increase exposure. And also like we've got crossover on MSF committee, Friends of MSF committee, and another committee like the Anthony Nolan Marrow, which is also another charity committee. So we're planning to do like joint events with them as well this year to help sort of increase the audience. But yeah, that's kind of it.
Really cool. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce this. Wesi,
yeah, you got it right. Hi guys, I'm from the University of Aberdeen Medical School, and we've just had to restart our MSF group because it kind of died to death. But we are planning on doing an online fresher pub quiz just to like get people to like interact and make friends because everything's been a bit rubbish. And then we're going to do like a little kind of run for the committee, so they'll just like run a set number of kilometers. And then we're also planning on doing like a speaker event because our president has parents who were war correspondents, so they're going to talk about their experiences. And I think her stepdad also knows someone who wrote a book about refugees and wars. We're going to get them to speak at a couple of like an event or so, and then we're just going to take it from there really. And then we're going to plan on doing like a whole week where we just make social media posts about the current refugee situation and just provide like basic information so people can, you know, at least be educated if they want to talk about the subject.
Okay, thank you. Good luck getting the society back up. And then Alex?
Yeah, so I'm at University College Dublin. We haven't planned much yet. We just got the handoff from the previous year. So we're a small group, and our main goal is to try to keep some of the talks that we had, because we usually had one about once a month last year, and they're usually really well attended. So we're hoping we can keep those going in this virtual environment. And then one of the other things that we tend to do a lot of is bake sales. A lot of people in our program really like baking and cooking, and they do well, which we're not able to do this year. But I'll give credit where it's due. This was an idea by my friend when I was stressing about how to move events online, and they suggested creating a cookbook. So having people send in their favorite recipes that they discovered during the lockdown or old family recipes. And then that's something that we could easily put into a PDF and sell for you know, like $2, $5, and it would be fun and get us to stick with what we usually do, but in a nice virtual way.
Great, thank you. I know we've also really struggled as we used to have bake sales as our main fundraising point, so that's a really good idea. Harriet, any ideas?
Hi, I'm Harriet. I'm also from Brighton and Sussex Medical School, so Maddie's our president, so he knows a lot more than I do. But yeah, I hope we've also got some like quite active societies like the Homeless Society and like refugee support. So hopefully we can also do joint events with them because it's like quite interrelated. But yeah, I don't have much to add. Maddie summed it up well.
Okay, thank you. Adam?
If we did something that wasn't just MSF. And maybe we're hoping to do like a talent show again. I don't know how we're going to do that online, but it'd be quite fun to do because we've done that in the past for medics. But yeah, at the moment it's quite early days, but hopefully it will work out.
Everybody, I've just popped in to say hello to see your faces because until now you've just been names. So I was just saying hi because I've obviously had email contact with quite a few of you, so it's nice to see you in person, but just ignore me.
I can go next. Yeah, hi, I'm Kai. I'm from St. George's University of London. So yeah, same as Chloe, essentially it's all pretty early days and COVID has definitely changed a lot of things, but just some new things that we've decided to like add to our plans this year would be to roll out a monthly newsletter, and then hopefully in that newsletter be able to create like a opportunity in like a column for different students to kind of just like apply and write articles about things or MSF work that they're interested in or that they've heard about recently. And we also wanted to do this, like, I don't really know how to describe it, like this like I guess like a running challenge in kind of that same way, like, you know, they were doing the like the 5 for 5 thing during COVID. Sorry, I wasn't here, so I don't actually know what happened, but that kind of thing. Yeah. We'll also be doing things like OSCE workshops in preparations for examinations and for the different years, and like intros to like clinical years and things like that to help raise money. So yeah.
I think I might be the last to go, so I'll go next anyway. Hi, I'm Sean. I'm from Trinity College in Dublin. I'm actually not with Friends of MSF. I was a member of the group last year, but I'm a member of the Medicine Overseas Voluntary Elective Committee in Trinity. So we ended up last year donating a lot of the funds to MSF when the electives overseas were cancelled. As far as I'm aware, they're putting together our MSF, our Friends of MSF committee next week. So I'm thinking about getting involved with that as well. But certainly it would be nice to tie some events with Medicine Overseas with MSF as well, because I think there's a lot of overlap between.
Oh, we also can't hear you. Sorry.
Hi guys, I'm just popping to say hello and see your faces because I know I've had contact with quite a few of you and not actually met you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Southampton. Sorry, my headphones must be messed up. Yes, I'm from Southampton, and like some of the other unis, I think one of the things that we last year was like a lot of us were medics, so we're hopefully trying to branch out a bit and get some nurses involved and like paramedics. And we're just in the process of like planning our like freshers events, so they're all mostly virtual, and just trying to raise more awareness so we can grow the committee a bit bigger than so 10 or so we have, maybe, if that. In terms of events, we wanted to do something like missing maps sometime over the next few months, and also like awareness events like was mentioned before, so for different months, maybe like Black History Awareness Month in October. Fundraising wise, we've talked about it. I'm not sure if we've got any concrete ideas. I really like the merch idea, so might get in touch with yourself about that. I feel like that's really good for freshers as well. And like raffles, I think a raffle was another one that we were thinking about, maybe contacting local businesses. Seeing
Hi, Molly. Thanks so much for joining. Were you previously in a breakout room, or have you just joined us now?
Hey, sorry, I was in a break. My Wi-Fi keeps cutting out and my videos also not working. We've just moved into a new house and the Wi-Fi is rubbish.
It's happened to the best of us. I am in my dad's study, hence the intimidating filing cabinets and the load of bikes in the back, because it's the best Wi-Fi in the house. I don't think I can... which breakout room were you in?
I don't know, because I got put in one and then everyone's was starting to get reassigned, and that's when mine dropped out again.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. It all got a bit messy. I'll just ask Pam to come back so she can assign you to a room.
I'm actually here. Let me.
Don't do that.
Sorry. So I just joined back from the breakout room. Just looking at how much time we've got left. I think we've got about 5 minutes. Molly, would you like me to put you into a breakout room to just listen in?
Yeah, I can listen. I don't mind just listening. I'm sorry. Sorry, it's my Wi-Fi's fault.
Yeah, no worries. Well, let me pop you in there anyway, if you're happy. I think it's going to work. I don't know if this is going to work, actually. This scares me. Assign to breakout 3.
You genuinely frightened me, Pam.
Oh, have you got your sound on really loud?
Well, I thought it was just me and Molly. Didn't know you were here.
There are a few other bods here as well.
I'm lurking in the background as well, Charlotte.
Right, I'm just going to go into another room.
I'm very easily...
If you want to do that, just because I have a little bit of experience doing the language classes, you could actually just like announce on your social media that if you like, does anyone who have language skills would like to do like 1 or 2 sessions or maybe a mini series on the language that they speak, and then you could have them on, and then they could kind of organize, even if it's just a small series of presentation on like the basic introductions and basic medical vocabulary. That could be really helpful, and that could do the trick basically.
Just popping in to say hi, everybody. How's it all going?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Good.
I think,
Good to see your faces. I'll leave you to it anyway. Yeah, 3.5 minutes left.
I think it's definitely like, as you were saying, with like especially medical, like saying different like medical information in those languages. Like I'm sure it's quite easy to have like a basic introduction and like discussion, but particularly like those like
You probably scared her off, Charlotte, when you jumped 10 feet in the air.
She's very deaf. She's 13 now and can't really hear anything. So we've got numbers are ticking back up, 20 people back. I hope your breakout room was productive.
yeah, interesting to hear everyone's stats.
It's not quite the same as being in person, but it will do, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And it does mean that we're, able to have Abdu dialing in from Iraq, and we have Isabel dialing in from Dublin, and so it does allow for much more accessibility and inclusivity. Plus, we had 179 people online at one point, I think. We've never had that kind of attendance at the in-person training days, so greater reach. Pam, Roz has sent me a message that she has popped off, but if there are any more questions for her, please pop them in the chat so that it goes to everyone and we can forward them to her to respond to later.
Great, okay, lovely.
Have we got any more slides?
Just got a minute left now.
Yay! I just love the power of breakout rooms. Clearly, I don't have enough power in my day-to-day life, and I need small things. So I find it very satisfying.
Right, I'm just going to drop into one more room to say hello.
Go about contacting each other.
That's a good question. I guess using the social medias, I imagine, of your respective uni.
Yeah, so the presidents and VP should all be on a central Friends of MSF Facebook group, and then they said something about starting a WhatsApp group.
Hi, sorry, that was good timing of me to arrive. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I was gonna set up a WhatsApp group of just the presidents, because otherwise it's a bit huge. But it's kind of up to you. I mean, I could do a WhatsApp group of all committee members of all 40 groups, but then that's looking at sort of 400 people. Maybe that's a bit crazy. Actually, I don't even know if you can have a WhatsApp group that big.
I don't know.
I don't know what the limit is.
A really good idea, though.
Sorry, say that again. You do think it is, or you don't?
Oh, I don't know, but I think a WhatsApp group in general would be a really good idea.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, guys. Well, hopefully it's been productive, and you've managed to share some ideas. So I'll leave you to it, but it's closing in about 30 seconds. I'll see you back in the main room in a minute. Okay.
Look, Harriet's got a dog. It's another advantage of doing it online is you can't bring dogs to in-person meetings. Well, unless they're like guide dogs or something, but I don't know.
Okay, we'll just wait a minute while everybody joins us again. I hope you've got, it's nice, it's so nice to see everybody's faces rather than just a list of names. If you have, you have somebody, your scribe or somebody who's going to feed back, that would be great. And I will go through the groups. I should have asked you to remember your group number.
If you bring up breakout rooms, Pam, it will show you the order that had been put in, so you can call people randomly.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. So just your information, breakout group 1 was the group with Adam, Aditi, Alex, Anna, Annabelle. Oh, I can see a pattern here. Blanca, Harriet, those people. So of that group, breakout group 1, who is going to feed back to me, please?
Hello.
Hi, Adam.
How's it going?
Great, good to see you. Okay, so what are the highlights of your discussion?
So I'll just sort of run through sort of themes that we found. There's a lot of people talking about cooking and baking. Obviously, a few people have more restrictive SUs than others, so they can't really do the bake sales that they usually be doing to raise money this year. but one suggestion was from Dublin, I believe, that they were thinking about making a cookbook, an MSF cookbook, and selling it for a few quid or a few euros, I guess, to make a bit of money where they might lose it there otherwise. In terms of other ways to raise money, we were talking about how a lot of the money gets collected from collection boxes. And so I think Bart's was suggesting that you can set up just giving pages when you've got a Zoom session going on, and people can just give via that to hopefully get a bit of money on that. Otherwise, quizzes seemed very popular. So a few people are doing pub quizzes, and there's been already a Kahoot, a virtual Kahoot on the subject of MSF and with prizes and all that, which seems pretty good. In terms of, so Brighton and Sussex are saying that they're going to hold a conference online and try to distribute party bags to everyone that goes along to the conference, and try to personalize them to which workshops they'll be attending, which sounds pretty good. And otherwise, we were talking about in terms of the talks that we're holding, because I believe there's a president's page for Friends of MSF, and so we're saying that if you have a talk that's going, like a virtual talk that's going on, if the president of that society wants to post it on their
that's what it's there for. Yeah,
it's all just go along to other unis, which would be pretty good. I think that's it.
Brilliant, thank you, Adam. Good synthesis. Okay, we better move on because we've got 8 groups. Group 2 that had Aisha, Asma, Beth, etc. Who is feeding back from that group, please?
I will.
Thank you.
So again, obviously everything's just going virtual. It was more in our group was about trying to increase engagement with students. So doing a lot of free online talks. A couple of unis were doing collaborations with sub-societies, so Radiology SOC, and they were having a talk from a breast cancer doctor as well. So doing specific things, but then also talking about MSF alongside that. Just to try and increase people's engagement. Cambridge were talking about a really interesting thing that they're doing with MedTech called a MedTech hackathon that they're working on, and they're going to try and do that, I think, in November, December time, which sounded really interesting and not anything that I would have thought of at all. So. And then some other places were doing French language taster sessions and an annual quiz, again, similar. And a lot of people were talking about doing missing maps again.
Great, yeah.
And then for fundraising, there was just, again, cook along things and selling handmade face masks. So,
great. Thank you very much, Beth. Thanks, group 2. Right. Group 3. Does anyone remember who's in group 3? Hang on, let me look at my list. That was Amadeep, Anastasia, Antonia, Chloe, etc. And I'm going to feedback from group 3 for me.
Hi. So a few of the things had already been discussed. We were also talking about, but it was definitely about how important social media is, especially communicating and engaging with the general members. We have our freshers next week. So one of the other things, I'm not sure about the other SUs, what they're doing, but we're having a virtual freshers fair, almost like this, where you go into different chat rooms and it's almost like someone's manning the table, and then you're speaking to the members and people who want to join. Someone brought up the idea of someone taking every day taking charge of the social media and doing a sort of focused talk about MSF, one particular aspect of MSF, and doing a mini introduction of themselves and what they do, as well as a virtual speaker event and online conference. I think it's as well as the difficulty of doing fundraising. So some of the ideas were a movie night, a virtual movie night. We had an idea about garment donations, so
like a clothes drive.
So people who donate their clothes, depending on how good it is, they will wash it, will prepare it, and we'll post it onto our social media We were also maybe thinking about Depop, but the fees are a bit of a problem there. And so that's a good way of getting some donations, as well as secondhand clothes and upcycling, which is also pretty good. Good prizes to lure people into these events. So maybe contacting local businesses, seeing what they can offer, as well as a sort of getting sponsors from them, and it's advertising their business. Language style events, so language like French and Arabic, so learning about basic introduction, vocabulary, like medical vocabulary, how to talk to a patient, about how to do like a sort of basic history taking, what you would normally do.
You know, useful phrases about like where does it hurt, or rather
than definitely
what you studied at school.
And then with a little bit of collaboration with other societies, doing like an Instagram event where we'll have a common Instagram handle, and then you can spread sort of nominations between different universities, and it will sort of create different challenges, and it will create a more nationwide thing between the other MSF groups. Yeah.
Great. Thank you ever so much. That just reminds me that I always say this every year, but some nurse, MSF nurse, said that she used to watch ER, old episodes of ER in French, dubbed into French, and she found it really useful to help her with her French. Great. So we need to be a bit quicker now, everybody, because we're running out of time. So breakout group 4, Abby, Becky, Carl, Daisy, Ella, etc. Who is going to speak from there? And can you speak for about a minute, if possible? Anybody?
Yeah, say some things. We had a little chat about like code alterations we're doing for events.
I can't hear you much.
Let me do it on. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I think you've got it on more than one device.
Hold on now.
Yeah, I think that's a bit worse.
Not working at all.
Oh.
Oh no.
Oh, hang on. Maybe that's a bit better now.
Oh
no. Okay.
I've muted us. Okay.
You have to turn off the sound for the one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a bit of a car crash, isn't it?
No, it's okay now.
Is that better? Who knows?
I think.
Go for it.
You can't hear them. Oh, have you got your volume on? Yeah.
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Finally, we talked about some COVID alterations we were making. So, like a Zoom cook along, which I thought was really sweet.
Oh yeah.
Having the clothes sale, which we talked about before. Online conferences, so a response to crisis one, which is really interesting. And then just utilising social media more, so weekly posts. Let's talk about like an MSF Monday. And then just like actually posting pictures with members in, committee members and everything, just because it engages more.
Lovely.
And then we had a chat about how to get younger years and other courses involved. So like talent shows, which are like more course broad. And then I like the idea of introducing more committee positions, so like a nursing and midwifery position.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we suggested maybe sharing links for Zoom speakers quite widely. Make it more national rather than just regional. Just
good idea.
Make it nice. As it's Zoom, it's quite easy to do. Just means you can attend more talks.
Yeah, taking advantage of the fact that you can have more of global reach. Thank you so much. Okay, we're on breakout group 5, I think. So, or have I just said that? No, Alice, Amelie, Beth, Hannah, that gang. Anyone from there? Matilda, Sean, Lily, Kai. Any takers?
Yeah, I'll go for it because I think we forgot to actually elect someone for that. So
okay, just a little tiny roundup is great, Alice.
Yeah, so we had quite a few ideas. So the Depop thing came up again, like selling clothes. We had quite a few people interested in organising like a running thing, like the challenge that was happening over lockdown. So it was like 5 for 5 or something, and like making that a thing for MSF. And then I think we were all quite interested in collaborating with other unis, so like having like as was said, like speakers speaking like on a Zoom call for different unis and everything, like for a couple of them.
Makes our lives easier as well to find you someone.
Yeah. And yeah, and then we had quite a few ideas as well, like sewing masks and selling them and everything. So yeah, I think that was main ideas.
Thanks, Alice. Great work. Breakout room 6, Anna, Alex, Emily, Ella May, Katrina, Kirsty, Lisa, etc. Who's feeding back?
Hi, okay, and I was the scribe. So the stuff which hasn't been mentioned already, we thought about, again, with collaborating with other unis and having competitions, like maybe making a map activity into a competition between unis, if we could do that virtually, and definitely within a uni. And a representative from Exeter suggested using the Watch With Me link to watch film screenings, so that we can have film screenings to make sure that everyone's watching at the same time.
Yeah, that's nice.
And one thing we mentioned, which I guess has been kind of mentioned before, like Adam and Antonio sorted it, about having like a shared calendar, and just make sure that's really kept up to date, so that we can all attend each other's virtual events, and maybe just somewhere where all of our social media handles are all in one place, so we can share each other's events as well.
Great. Lovely.
Yeah, that's
Thank you very much. Nobody set a talent contest yet. Do no one want to do talent contests anymore? There's a lot of it happening on Zoom. Okay. Amy, Annabelle, Carl, Fatima, Hugh, Katie, breakout room 7.
That's me. Yeah, I'll go for this
On the stage, Pat, no talent competitions. And so people also remember to put things in the comments if you have anything else to add.
What did you say about talent competition? Sorry, Charlotte?
You're just desperate to get on the stage.
Oh yeah, it's just, I'm just reflecting now. Sorry, Carl, do go ahead.
Okay, sure. So I think it's a lot of just the same. So Hull talked about how they did some French lessons online, doing Zoom and a Google form. Birmingham have a weekly article just trying to get more on social media. RCSI had like a humanitarian conference last year, so they're going to do an online version of it this year. And Imperial said how they did a FIFA tournament over the summer, and that went really well. So I think something like that is a really nice idea. And we also talked about a running thing as well. We actually started one at King's today, like a group on Strava, if you know the app.
Yeah.
I'll put the details onto the big Facebook group thing if you want to join it. I think it'd be really good if we got lots of different societies in as well.
Excellent.
Yeah, pretty much just the sort of stuff.
Thank you, Carl. Another thing that seems to be big at the moment is gaming and watching people play games. I mean, it's completely beyond me, but apparently that's a new thing that our digital team are looking at. Anyway, and finally, but last but not least, breakout group 8, Emily, India, Iona, Claudia, etc.
So we were discussing, a lot of stuff's already come up, so like cooking. There was a lot on pushing social media, because obviously this year is going to be sort of all online. A lot of also trying to push getting different MSF groups from different universities kind of cross-collaborating with each other and talking a bit. There was one really good one from Mark Birmingham saying about how had a newsletter and getting people in the committee to write in it every couple of weeks. And then, having donations and stuff coming in from that. And that's a really good way to keep people engaged and show the committee's actually really interested. And then I think everything else has pretty much been covered.
Great, thank you, Oliver. And content-wise, if you want content from MSF, I mean, it is coming out of our ears in terms of incredible stories and blogs and articles and everything. Like, it's just huge. So there's always stuff that you can be posting and sharing all the time. Okay, by some absolute miracle or maybe skill, we have managed to stay on time, and we're going to finish on time, which is absolutely brilliant. So thank you all for those of you who have stayed, and a good majority of you have stayed till the end, which I really appreciate on a nice Saturday afternoon as well. Thank you so much. Good luck with everything. As I say, we'll be sending a follow-up email with loads and loads of stuff, and you should be getting resources in the post from us, and we'll be in touch over the next few months a lot. But do share, really take, I mean, it's such a strange time, isn't it? But take it, and I feel so sorry for all those freshers starting up with this kind of weird virtual world, but it is what it is. But as you've identified in your breakout groups, this is an opportunity to collaborate and to do things, get people from different parts of the UK, Ireland, or further afield to do talks and really work together on things. So it's just try and see this pandemic as an opportunity as much as possible. And I think that if there's not anything else, I'm going to leave the closing words with Isabel, who is our director in our Irish our Irish office, who has nobly stayed with us as well, I think, I hope. Yes, she's there. I can imagine if she wasn't, I'd look like such an idiot. But yes, stayed with us till the end. So I'll leave it with Isabel, but thank you all.
Okay, thanks, Pam. Well, that was a little bit, I was typing a little message to the Irish groups there to also say, please get in touch with us. Oliver mentioned, I think, the humanitarian conference in RCSI last year. I was at it, it was great. So if you're thinking along these lines too, we can definitely help out again with speakers and materials, banners, so forth as well. Really inspiring day. Big thanks to Pam and Charlotte. And yeah, I hope to see some of the Irish groups at some point over the next year. COVID is a little bit challenging in that for now, but let's hope that we can get up together at some stage. We did manage to meet up with Limerick and Cork last year for events, so let's hope 2021 maybe it's possible. And just lots of luck and success, and thank you for everybody's support. Okay, back to you, Pam.
Thanks for flying the flag.
Thank you so much.
Good today. I hope you found it useful. Go well. Stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice rest of the weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.